You're watching the 8-player draft series at Magic Brewhouse Games. Hello, everybody. This is Lou DeSimone. I'm joined by Jeremy Edwards, and we're back in round 2, looking at match 1, game 1 versus Marshall Simpson versus Just James.
Should be a pretty exciting match. Both decks ran extremely well in the first round. I'd like to think that we'll see a pretty good matchup here. Whichever player gets started earliest is probably going to be the one who takes the game, though.
I do see that James has a distinct advantage. He has 4 1-drops in his deck. That's hugely substantial in his format, and follows it up with 5 2-drops. It's clear that Just James is going to get on the board earlier, but it's going to be interesting to see how the Ally deck synergy plays out against... Oh, man, are they both taking mulligans here?
It looks like they both took a mulligan. They're both going down to 6. Honestly, I see a lot of early game in Marshall's deck as well. Not so big on the 1-drops, but he's got quite a few. Enough 2-drops, really. Some 3-drops. So he wouldn't be completely out of it to start. The only thing I worry about with Marshall in this case is that he is playing 3 colors with no fixing. So that could come into play, especially after mulling. Hopefully it doesn't become an issue.
Well, it worked out for him the first round.
It did, but I didn't see him mull all that much in the first round.
Looks like Marshall decided to go back for a little more shuffling there.
Yes, he did. Those 2 extra shuffles will make all the difference, I hope, at least. So they're drawing their 6. Remember, the scry rule is in effect. Both players are trying to decide if they want to keep their hands.
All right, Jeremy.
I saw 1 land in his hand. I saw him contemplating. He might have had a couple of 1-drops in there. But 1 land on in a limited format is a little bit risky.
Yeah, even with the scry. So it looks like Just James is going to mull down to 5. Certainly isn't looking too well for him at this point.
Not at all. Looks like Marshall is deciding to keep his hand, maybe. Looks like it is the spotter that was just seen there. You can wave hello to him.
Let's see. Just James looking at his 5. To keep or not to keep?
Looks like he's going to risk it. I think I only saw 1 land again, but could just be my ankle.
Looks like Marshall takes his scry down to the bottom. Just James, considering, also bottom.
All right, so it looks like we're about to start. Round 2, match 1, game 1. Let's get this underway.
In theory.
In theory.
So, if you take the mulligans out, who do you think's favored in this matchup? I mean, who do you like, just based on the deck list that were presented?
I feel like Marshall has a lot more combat tricks than James does. I see basically just a large creature base for James with 1, I guess you can count 2 removal spells if Plummet becomes a factor in this match. And 3 if you count Transgress the Mines. So it looks like you started that both players have played a land so far.
So you're saying you prefer Marshall in this matchup?
I see Marshall with the distinct advantage as long as he's drawing his mana.
Sure. And I think if Just James keeping only a swamp in a primarily early green drop, that's got to be a tough spot to be in right now.
This is not looking good for him. Staring down a McKendy Slide Runner and passing turn yet again.
Is this the part where I look for the bright side and say at least he didn't have to discard?
There's a point at which it just kind of sounds like it's insulting. And I think at this point,
We're almost there.
yeah. Oh, looks like he drew another swamp. Don't know how much that's going to help, considering I think there's a lot of green cards in the hand.
Passes back. I think Just James' hopes are quickly dwindling for this particular game.
Yep. Already down to 17. Looks like he's going to take another 5 to the face. Already at 12. And he's still only on 2 lands. Followed up with a belligerent whiptail.
Let's check the draw here for Just James.
Looking at only a handful of cards,
Yeah.
and he scoops. And that's it for game 1. Join us for the next video.
All right, everybody, we're back for game 2. Again, this is Lou, and I'm joined by Jeremy.
What's up, people? So let's hope we don't have to go through another mulligan phase here.
Yeah, it was pretty awful for Just James. It would be nice to see. He did pretty well in the first round against Phil, so I'm hoping we can see, some better action out of him this game.
Let's hope. For his sake and for ours. It's not really fun to watch a match like that. Less fun to be a part of it, and even less fun to be on the losing end of it, but still, it's just no fun for a lot of people.
So it looks like with they're flashing the cards to the spotters here that we're about to get underway shortly.
That's good, no moles. And that means we have at least reliable hands. Yeah, we start off with
Fertile
a fertile thicket.
Yep. And that's going to fix some of that mana too.
That card, in theory, looks amazing, but I can see it hurting a lot of people on the play.
Well, I mean, in a format that's, no pun intended, devoid of, one drops for the most part, I think it's pretty respectable, actually.
Well, I'm not even worried so much about the fact that it comes to play taps. It's the fact that you can watch a lot of good cards go to the bottom of your library because of it.
Sure. How about a turn 2 transgress the mind?
That works. Let's see what he can get away from Marshall.
That is quite a considerable start for Just James here.
Well, now that he knows that there's 4 lands in the hand, that's pretty solid right there. But going back, it's, that land is kind of like dropping a second turn. For the life of me, I probably can't remember this name either. But it's the blue one that lets you reveal the top 3 cards and get an instant or sorcery card from it. The Merfolk something. And whenever you're a land star, for some reason, there would always be 2 lands in there. Just watch them go to the graveyard.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying.
Just an unfortunate scenario. And the game is very random, so we just deal with it.
But I think, like in a format where you have Delve and other things like in Constructed, it's still an interesting option.
Well, constructed, I'm not so worried about it. All right, looks like we followed up with a
Core Blade Whirl here.
Curl Blade Whirl. That is so hard for me to say. I want to say Whirl Blade.
Maybe that's your new movie ambition
Yeah, maybe.
or aspirations.
And
Blister Pod
Just James also with 2 casts, a Blister Pod.
and Orin Reef Invoker.
Not a bad drop right there. But then he follows it up with an Arcana Assassin.
Also an ally.
Also an ally, so there is first strike going there.
2/2 first strike. Chump with the Blister Pod.
And he goes to get his token. Untaps. Let's see what he's got now. Does he have his 4th land? He does. He's going to put the
Mortuary
Blister
Mire.
Pod back on the top of his library.
I guess similar to the match with Adrian where he cast that creature over and over again. I wonder if we're going to see the same thing with this Blister Pod. Maybe it's, the Blister Pod's really a cat. It's got 9 lives.
Maybe. Maybe you should call it the Blister Cat.
Sure.
Or the Cat Pod. Well, he follows it up with another Nakana Assassin.
Looks like just James takes it, goes down to 16.
Anyone got a feeling we're going to see another blister pod coming soon? There we
Oh.
go. A blister pod's corpse is a scion's cradle. I just proved that I can read flavor text. There was nothing special about that, to be honest.
Well, since I didn't read the flavor text, I thought you were just, being super creative here. That was neat.
Yeah, creative. No. So he swings it with the assassins. Looks like we got a chump on one of them. And he's going to take 2 from the other one. Goes down to 14. But he does get another Eldrazi Scion.
So this puts him up to 7 potential mana here. That's
Wonder what kind of big move he's got going for us.
he only needs his biggest card is the Eldrazi Devastator at 8. So
Well, he just drew the mana for 8 now. He's got 6 lands on the field.
he can also activate the Oran Reef Invoker for +5/+5. That's pretty substantial. On offense or defense, that thing gets pretty substantial at this size.
Very much so, and he does have the ability to chump block the other 2 cards and then kill one of them with the mana he's got. So he's got some combat tricks here. And it looks like Marshall's getting a little mana flooded, so he's just going to swing in now.
So I think it's a reasonable line of play from Just James. He has the mana to do that.
Looks like it. Stops himself from taking damage. Will take out an assassin in the process.
It's kind of funny just based on the name that an assassin's getting taken out, but, what are you going to do?
Well, this is magic. Magical things will happen. So James drew another land. Drops a culling drone. 2/2 with the void and ingest. The more I see some of these ingest cards come out, the more I wish I would have taken some of them over some of my picks. It's a really interesting mechanic there.
They're surprisingly good in limited.
So Marshall plays the land and passes turn. And that's land number 8, right?
Yeah, it looks like the couple on the bottom portion of the screen are clumped together.
Land number 8 with another Oran Reef Invoker. So then we got combat tricks for days, guys.
Problem here is he leaves himself open because 6 mana is not enough to do anything.
Sometimes you got to make the play hoping for the best.
I guess what I'm saying here is, he was in such a good spot to survive anything other than, a straight out kill like Smite the Monstrous. But here now he's forced into a tough spot.
Well, see here, unless that would have been a Blade Master hitting the field, I probably would have just taken the 4 and gone down to 10.
Sure.
Because now it does put him into a bad spot.
So I didn't quite get a good look at what he has in his hand there, but he's still in the same position that playing things means he's not activating the Invoker.
I don't know. I feel like he should have been a little bit more defensive about this and aggressive. Because he's still not...
That's not too bad. Call the Scions.
Okay. Respectable play. But unfortunately, that still leaves him without the ability to...
Activate the untapped Invoker.
Exactly. Which means that he's going to needlessly lose that 3 mana over nothing. It's an unfortunate sight to see at this point.
Maybe, but again, perhaps this is the turn that he takes the damage.
Here's to hoping. Might be a little bit too much, though. Too late, though.
Especially if
since
Marsh
that
is
was the
tapping
Blade
out for
Master.
5. Hello, double strike, and vigilance, and first strike, and death touch. No, not death touch.
He hasn't gained life this turn yet, fortunately. But now he has to block wherever whenever he can.
Looks like he'll be taking 4 here.
4 goes down to 8.
Just James trying to keep the dreams alive here.
I feel like he might be panicking a little bit at this point. Saw his life total. Tried to be a little bit overly protective of it.
Blister chump block pod guy.
Still leaves him in the same boat, though. He can't pump his Oran Reef. So Marshall is thinking right now. Looks like he might not have drawn an ally, so he might not be able to trigger double strike this turn, which would be a great reprieve for Just James here. But Marshall's still swinging in.
I think he's kind of obligated if he swings with the team unblocked, that's lethal. You know, clearly Just James would block, but trading off the creatures now feels pretty good. Especially since those Oran Reef Invokers, again, they're the things that are keeping Marshall at bay here.
Well, he's not swinging for lethal, so we could see just a chump block with the Blister Pod and then hope for the best on the next turn. Tough decision in this place. Looks like he's going to try to kill as many creatures as he can.
I like this trade here. I think reducing the number of allies, you know, is good. He's going to get a token. He'll be strictly in position to activate the remaining Invoker.
And there's another land.
Can only pass back the turn.
All right, Marshall's thinking right now. Not sure what he just drew, but it looks like a card to me. I'm pretty sure it was a card. He's fixing his mana now.
Oh, looks like 4. Belligerent Whiptail.
Belligerent Whiptail, so not an ally.
Looks like Just James is dodging bullets right now.
Yes, he is.
And Marshall trying to figure out how he can just finish off that last few points of damage.
He knows he's not going to be able to do it this turn, so he just passes wisely. He's just got to hope for an ally. Or wait for Just James to make a error in his play. But Just James just passed his turn. See what I did there? Marshall draws. He's contemplating something.
Again, in Marshall's seat, I'm just trying to figure out how can I get 6 more points through. So I think Marshall's probably just trying to consider his options here to see if he can make it happen. I think if he drew an ally, it's kind of a no-brainer. You know, here he's just trying to leverage what's on the board.
Oh,
Courier
not
Griffin.
an ally, but he does gain 2 life from it. And it is a flyer, so...
Ooh, and Death Touch.
And Death Touch. That's a pretty solid move right there.
Turning up the heat.
So he's going to swing in and force the blocks. So the Belligerent Whiptail does have first strike.
But it doesn't have trample.
It does not.
So I almost feel like it's tough the way he's lining that up. I kind of like taking out the Blade Master and chumping the Whiptail.
I agree. I'm not sure why it happened that way, but at this point, it's his decision.
And looking at the board state, he reduced the same number of creatures depending on what's in his hand. Oh, looks like he's scooping it up.
And that is the end of match 1, game 2. See you for the next video.
Hey everybody, we hope you've enjoyed this match of our 8-player draft series. If you'd like to check out the players' draft review, you can check them out. There's links over to my right. If not, stay tuned for the next match. Please take a second to subscribe and leave your comments below. We would love to hear from you, and until next time, we'll be stirring up some magic. Bye everybody.